What do Amazon, the FTC, and restaurants have in common? Today, we dive into the potential fallout of Amazon's antitrust lawsuit and its implications for restaurants. Let's grow. Welcome to the Restaurant Growth Show podcast, where we talk about how operators can use technology to grow their business. We've got a lot to talk about in this episode, but first, let's introduce our co-host. With more than 25 years of online marketing experience, Jose Albus has successfully founded and operated companies in software and hospitality. Lastly, who am I? My name is Gordon. I am your host. I have over 16 years in the food service industry with more than a decade in technology startups. Jose, how are we doing today?
Great. This is a very important topic today, so I'm looking forward to sharing more.
Agreed. This is just really prominent in headlines right now. It's a pretty massive lawsuit that the FTC has brought against Amazon. Really quickly, Jose, why don't you break down for us what's happening with the FTC and Amazon, and what's your take on the lawsuit?
Basically, it's an antitrust because they are putting all sorts of, I would like to say demands, but it's imposing all sorts of rules because they dominate the market to the sellers, and they're restricting what they can do with their pricing on their own stores and distribution channels, you name it, all for the sake of allowing them to be part of Prime and other benefits that they will not get, like the logistics of Amazon. They have to use it. And all sorts of rules that are basically imposing. It makes it really difficult. I mean, once you're in bed with them, it's like you're tied up, and it's just not fair. So as much as it's building businesses and helping people, it's too many restrictions, and that is just not a proper behavior.
Yeah, I think the key word there is fair. Right? I think that Amazon and big tech, namely Uber and DoorDash and even Google, we can throw Google in there. They've monopolized search for decades now. But my interpretation of what's happened here and how it relates to restaurants is that mentioned in the lawsuit that was recently launched was that the anti-competitive behavior of Amazon broke down into two specific categories. And the first one happened to be in regards to pricing. So when merchants would price their products lower on outside of Amazon, say on their own website or on a competitor's website, like say Shopify, Amazon had been deprioritizing that merchant's listing in the marketplace. So obviously that has direct implications for, say, an Uber or a DoorDash marketplace, because they're doing similar things. So back in April, DoorDash had sent out a letter to a lot of their merchants, especially in the United States, asking for price parity. So that was the first implication in the lawsuit from what I read. And the second one had to do with delivery. Amazon was deprioritizing merchants who were offering their own delivery. And as I'm sure you can imagine, that is directly related to DoorDash's. There are rumors going on anyways, merchants talking about how their listing is getting deprioritized in the marketplace if they're offering their own in-house delivery, right? So this is a real moment. And so we're all following this very, very closely.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I think sometimes we don't see these things, and we've been getting used to it for years because that's the way that it has been created. So I'm in a way, both for the consumer and the merchants, this is a very important piece of information that we will keep them up to date as we also learn more developments. For sure, this is a topic that is very interesting and important to all of our listeners.
Although we don't expect a decision in this lawsuit to come through really anytime soon, we do want to envision that the FTC wins this case and levels the playing field. So what we've done is we've come up with 6 pivotal outcomes, how Amazon's antitrust lawsuit may affect restaurants. And in particular, we're looking at how the algorithm algorithm could change if the playing field were to be leveled by a decision in favor of the FTC. So first and foremost, number one, personalization and fair play. If regulators ensure a more level playing field, restaurants won't solely rely on their past performance and users' previous order history. This means newer or less known restaurants have a better chance to appear in users' recommendations, breaking the cycle of only popular restaurants getting most of the attention.
Number two, restaurant performance and new rules. If big players in the delivery platform need to be more transparent, restaurants will better understand how their speed, accuracy, and quality impact their ranking. This clarity might help to improve their services and stand out.
The number three pivotal potential outcome of the algorithm would be marketing commissions and costs. So if costs for platforms like Uber Eats and DoorDash rise due to the new regulations, these platforms might increase their marketing commission fees. This can make it pricier for restaurants to maintain or improve their visibility on these apps. So when ultimately, if the costs go up for the marketplace platform software providers, then obviously there's a trickle-down effect that could in fact play out there.
Right. And it's just shrinking their margins, which are already quite challenging for restaurants.
Exactly. Jose, did you want to handle number four?
Number four, customer filters and strategy. If customers become more aware of how algorithms work, they might use filters more strategically, looking beyond just the default algorithm suggestions. So restaurants might need to diversify, focusing on multiple aspects like cuisine specialties, competitive pricing, or faster delivery times. There is already a lot of restrictions in the process, especially when it comes to timing, where there's ways of penalizing the restaurant, the driver, you name it.
Yeah, it's wild to think that algorithms basically run our lives now. It's this black box of unknown parameters around the Amazon marketplace, Uber Eats marketplace. We don't even know how the Google algorithm works. We have an idea. As to Facebook's newsfeed algorithm, what's getting prioritized, what's getting put to the top of news feeds or marketplace listings. We've got a general idea, but we don't know for sure. And so with a decision like this that were to come out and sort of open up the books on how the algorithm works.
Like we were talking about today earlier before we started, when DoorDash says that the algorithm is putting them down because you're not matching your prices inside the store. Well, who's taking a look at that? What are you talking about? Right? So it's like you hide behind the algorithm. Is that what it is? Because it's always been this black box, like you say, and then we just need to trust that it is the algorithm.
Exactly. It's passing the buck. It's placing blame on something that's totally out of our control. We don't control what the algorithm does. We just follow its lead. And that is not taking responsibility for your own technology. And we all agree that algorithms and artificial intelligence and machine learning are highly complex and very challenging to understand. That still doesn't mean you can place blame. And I think that's directly what this lawsuit is about, is taking responsibility for your anti-competitive behavior.
An algorithm, like you develop it, it's your algorithm, it's your responsibility what it does.
Exactly. All right.
Number 5, promotions and scrutiny. Platforms might be more cautious with promotions to avoid any appearance of favoritism. This means restaurants will need to find organic ways to attract customers or rely more on their promotions. This makes me think about the way that some technology allows for restaurants to be able to program happy hours online and special pricing in another, or categories that appear and disappear. There's going to be more technology to help. There's going to be more understanding of technology to do more of what we call organic ways to attract customers. And I think that this is something that it is positive, because it is in those changes and adjustments that both consumer and the restaurant gets the benefits of the flexibility.
Agreed. Organic to me equals fair and balanced. Let's take Google search, for example. When big businesses have massive ad budgets, they can control what ads are showing up at what time to a specific audience. And the small to mid-sized players don't really get a say. So they're monopolizing keywords, for instance, right? And if and when the FTC is able to get the outcome that they're after, then hopefully we'll see more of an organic methodology to these algorithms and how listings are shown more logically in these marketplaces. And that goes for Amazon as well.
I agree. Some segments in when it comes to search, I mean, and that's just one channel that it's like, it is so difficult to compete sometimes in certain verticals that it becomes almost like TV. Like, there's only so much space that you can advertise on TV, and that's why it's so expensive, and it's only for big companies as well. Unless you do some guerrilla marketing, something that comes out and becomes news, someone tapping the shoulder of the news office in a channel, for example, you're not going to show up. And if you show up in the news.
Great. I think that's a great example is the limited advertising space that's available at the Super Bowl.
That promise of the internet and freedom and access and communication information gets back to the tube.
The internet is not democratized like it was in the early 2000s. And we've seen big corporations and big tech really completely monopolize. And I don't want to get all dark and gloomy about the future, but this is in fact where we are at in terms of fairness for small to mid-sized businesses. And this is what this lawsuit is all about. All right, number 6, we are talking about 6 possible outcomes on how Amazon's antitrust lawsuit may affect restaurants. So number 6, partnerships, acquisitions, and opportunities. The antitrust lawsuit could deter big delivery platforms from aggressively pursuing partnerships or acquisitions that significantly alter the algorithm to their benefit. But for restaurants, this means the platform's algorithm might not heavily favor one particular partner over another, creating a more equal opportunity environment. Again, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about fairness and allowing the small guys to participate.
One thing that comes to mind in the technology space is how, for example, companies like Adobe, they have Salesforce, they have so many solutions under their umbrella that they've been acquiring throughout the years. It just consolidates graphic design, right? Until Canva came out, these guys were the main one and only toolkit for designers. And it had to come something like a Canva to start making changes and strategic acquisitions and stuff. It's great. Capitalism is fantastic. But at the same time, we got to watch out because, again, another space that just gets monopolized and appropriated by a single organization. It's just, again, fairness, right?
Likely what's going to happen is Amazon's probably going to move the goalposts in some way, shape, or form, but we need to be diligent, and hopefully this is a fair outcome at the end of this. That's all the time we have for today. This podcast is sponsored by Dynpricing, real-time restaurant profitability. Dynpricing uses artificial intelligence to improve profitability for restaurants by dynamically updating menus across digital channels like Uber, like DoorDash, like Grubhub. I'd like to thank my co-host, Jose Albis. Until next week, we'll see you then. Say goodbye, Jose.
Goodbye, Jose.